I've been a Porsche lover my whole life, and I've owned, driven, and tracked several Porsches, but I've never driven a Corvette, especially a C8 Corvette, until today. Now in this video, I'm going to reveal what this Corvette C8 convertible and I did, and where we went during our 48-hour affair. I'll share what I liked and didn't like about her looks, performance, and her desirability. And as a result of my unfaithfulness to my 718 Porsche, will I be dumping her in the future and taking up with this new one permanently, or is it just a short-term fling? And if it is, I'll have to beg my Porsche for her forgiveness. Now, if you're a Porsche lover, you definitely want to watch this video, because I know you've been wondering about this baby. Okay, so I've just picked up the car and we're heading out onto the highway. Lots of things I like right away. I always like this color interior, kind of a tan interior, and I think that looks great. I like the rear view mirror that's actually a camera. And we're cruising on the highway at 70 miles an hour at the speed limit here. You don't hear any engine noise at all. You don't hear any wind noise, but you hear a lot of tire noise. It feels, actually to me, it feels like more of a muscle car than actually a sports car. You can definitely feel the weight of it. It is very, very heavy. And at startup, I mean, the sound that this thing makes when you start it up, it is seriously cool. Now, I admit one of the biggest challenges about checking out this Corvette C8 convertible is my brand loyalty to Porsche, but I'm going to try my very best to overcome that during the next 48 hours and to share my honest opinion. Now, this is not a sponsored video. No one lent me this Corvette. I rented it with my own money, and that way I can be sure to give you my honest opinion. If this was a loaner car from GM, they'd kind of be expecting me to be a little bit gentle with them, because otherwise they'd never loan me another car anyway. Now, I'm so used to the feel and the performance of my Porsche 718 Spyder, it's hard to imagine that anything else can measure up. But I have to admit, I'm pretty excited about sharing my time with this Corvette C8 convertible for the next 48 hours to really check it out. It is amazing though that when you are on the highway, that you really don't hear anything. That was the truck next to me, that wasn't me. But it feels super stable on the highway, that's for sure. I mean, likely because of its weight. I mean, the car isn't affected at all by any trucks passing by or any crosswinds or anything like that. The controls are really straightforward and really well laid out. It only takes you a very short period of time to figure things out. And although it has all these buttons down the center spine, the wall of China is what they call it, they aren't that difficult to really figure out. And the ones that you don't use that often are down near the bottom here. So it's really not a problem. But there are a lot of buttons. I count 17 on the driver's door. I count 14 on the steering wheel, 17 on the center console, and another 8 on the passenger's door. And really, the 3/4, like the blind spots in this thing are unreal. But the good news is, with this rear view camera, or this mirror that's actually a camera, and the mirrors themselves, it's actually quite easy to change lanes. Now, the rear spoiler or rear wing is actually huge. In fact, I find it almost embarrassing, it's so big. But when you look at it in the rear view camera, you can just barely notice it at the bottom, and it's not obtrusive at all. I did find though that when getting into the car, getting out of the car, I have long legs, but still, it's quite a distance to spread your legs over to get in and out, and it's difficult not to hit that valance at the bottom of the doors, that black part. In terms of the colors of this car, I mean, I like bright colors, that's for sure. The orange is a lot. I mean, everybody's going to call this the Great Pumpkin. I'm going to call this the Great Pumpkin. In terms of my liking, if I went with a bright color on one of these cars, or even white, I would definitely minimize the amount of black trim that's on the outside. I would still go with the black nacelles and the black roof, but the rest of the car, I try to get rid of as much of the black as I could. Somehow it just doesn't add to it, just makes it look a lot, just more boy racer than anything else. So as I mentioned, I do like this tan color interior, although after just driving this car for an hour or so, I wouldn't get it myself. The orange reflects so much into the windows and the side windows, and especially these side windows are tinted. So the orange when the sun hits it, the orange reflects even more. So I would definitely think twice about getting a light colored interior in this, unless you can get like a dark dash and dark door tops. You know, as far as I'm concerned, this is actually more of a GT car than a sports car. You know, able to travel long distances on smooth highways like this. It's really great. We'll see how it does on some of the secondary roads and see if we can notice some more of its sportiness there. Well, it did really well on that on-ramp. I mean, didn't phase it at all. And one of the things I found really interesting about all the technology and how it's applied in this car is that apparently you can't do burnouts and you can't do donuts with this car. The chassis management system and engine management system just won't allow it. Something else I found really interesting was when the car was on a bit of an incline and I was stopping and I just wanted to move ahead a little bit, it seemed to like rev up a little bit and then it kind of jerks forward. And then, of course, you have to back off. And then, so each time you do that, it kind of jerks forward. Something I just noticed very unusual about this rear view camera mirror is that some cars, I guess, depending on the frequency of their headlights or whatever, it looks like they're flashing your headlights at you very, very quickly, but actually they're not. Can't say I'm very impressed with the satellite nav system that comes in this car. Just took me 40 miles out of my way. Haven't tried Apple CarPlay yet. Hopefully that'll be much better, because that's what most people use anyway, right? This car has 32,000 miles on it, but it does have quite a few rattles already. I'm quite surprised. Back in this area back here, I guess it has to do with the roof. All right, so let's check out Kendall Lake Park in Camden, South Carolina. Now, a 45-minute test drive from a dealership just really isn't enough. Actually, can you even get a Corvette to be able to test drive it? It just isn't enough for me. You have to drive it in the city, you have to drive it in country roads, and you have to experience it on the highway. And I'm doing all of those in my next 48 hours here in South Carolina. All right, let's check out this convertible top. The top can be opened but not closed with the remote. But don't stop holding down the button during its operation. When the roof is fully open, the lights will flash and a bell will sound. You can also open or close the roof while you're driving at up to 30 miles per hour. It's fully automatic, but it uses 6 motors to operate. It is cool, the whole motion that it goes through and that kind of thing. I just worry what this is going to be like long term, how long it's going to last and how well it's going to work. But all right, let's close her up. Now keep in mind the convertible is a full convertible, while the Corvette Coupe is more of a Targa type top. With the convertible, you never lose any trunk space with the top down, whereas with the Coupe, you'll lose space, but more about that a little bit later. And keep in mind too that with the convertible, you can also lower the rear window separately. And she's a real beauty when she's topless, that's for sure. I've heard of some C8 convertible owners having problems with the top getting stuck. Didn't happen to me though. Let's see what it sounds like when I close the door. Not too bad. Not too bad. Sounds pretty solid. Doors open wide for great access to the interior, and that square-cle steering wheel is heated, and pretty much all interior surfaces are covered with leather or suede-like Alcantara. We've got memory seats, and the Bose 14-speaker stereo sounds great and features wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And you can see those tan seats, although they look gorgeous when they're new. This one with 32,000, probably mostly rental miles, starting to show its age a little bit. And another great illustration of why I don't like Alcantara. As it gets older, it takes on this kind of dirty, kind of matted, kind of a finish. Again, maybe a really good cleaning might bring it back, but I don't know, I doubt it. And since the rear mirror camera is mounted on the top itself, when the top's down, you just go to a regular mirror. And all of a sudden you miss that rear view mirror. Although it does take some time to get used to it. When you're driving and you try to focus on the mirror, it seems like you're not quite focusing on it. And from the passenger's viewpoint, you really do feel somewhat like a second-class citizen with this huge wall of China here. And it does kind of restrict your knee room somewhat, but I don't know. I guess all the drivers maybe just wouldn't care. And as you start it up, the seat moves into position, the steering wheel presents itself, and you can hear that amazing exhaust note. The heads-up display is pretty cool. You can obviously see it much better in the shade than you can in the bright sunlight, but it's displaying the miles per hour that I'm traveling and also the speed limit in this section of the road. That fighter pilot style interior looks gorgeous from any angle. These cars do feature remote start, but is it claustrophobic? Well, it looks like it might be, but I don't think it is, at least not from the driver's seat. But you do sit very low. Now, I'm not a fan of the rear of this car at all, but this car does look exceptional when viewed from above with the top down, or coming or going. Not a fan of the faux carbon fiber accents in the interior, but I've seen worse. And the mirrors fold in when the car is locked to protect them, but it's also a convenient way to visually confirm that the car is actually locked when you leave it. Both trunks in the Corvette have a total of 13 cubic feet of capacity. A standard size carry-on bag fits in the front trunk, but when you remove and stow the Targa top in the trunk with the coupe, it'll pretty much take up most of that space. Not so with the convertible. Now these tires are absolutely huge. You can see they're 305/30 ZR20, but I really like it that they've got Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's. Really love those tires. From its aggressive front to its overall shape, this car is exciting, especially in a bright color. It looks very exotic, and it looks like it should cost a whole lot more than it does, but don't tell GM. It's absolutely gorgeous, especially when viewed from the top. In terms of looks, it really doesn't matter whether you get the convertible or the coupe. Both are absolutely gorgeous. It's definitely unlike any Corvette before, likely the biggest change from a previous generation Corvette since the C2 premiered. Don't be deceived, this is a big car with an overall length of 182 inches and a width of just over 76 inches. I love this somewhat two-tone look of the convertible with the top up or down, especially with a bright color like this orange. Although orange wouldn't be my first color choice, I'll share a little later what colors I'd choose. Love those blacked out nacelles, A-pillars, and the roof. But don't much like the black trim at the opening of the side scoops either. Not a fan of the stripes, but let me know in the comments if you like the stripes or not. You know, my initial skepticism about this car is starting to fade. Am I being seduced by the C8 convertible? But seriously, as I delve deeper into the world of Corvette, I'm starting to realize that there's more to this brand than I initially thought. With the convertible, the engine isn't visible, but do you really want people leaning over and possibly scratching your Corvette to see that likely dirty engine anyway? The rear of this car definitely isn't my favorite side from any angle. Now, this Corvette C8 convertible, equipped as shown, costs about $90,000 US. The Corvette C8's performance specs are seriously impressive, with a 0 to 60 time of just 3.0 seconds and a top speed of over 190 miles per hour. The Corvette C8 features a dry sump engine, so it could be mounted lower in the frame to lower the center of gravity, improving handling. Now, it does have an 8-speed dual clutch gearbox, which is the only one available. Honestly, that's okay, because it just works extremely well. I do like the front axle lift system. I think that's great. It'll save wear and tear on the spoiler. Too bad it didn't save too much wear and tear on this spoiler. So driving around the city is actually pretty easy with the car. You just have to be aware that that front spoiler is extremely low and extremely vulnerable, which is why the axle lift system comes in handy. But and rear three-quarter vision isn't the greatest, but again, we've got that rear view mirror. Now the rear view mirror, when the top is down, doesn't use the camera. So because of that, but the view isn't all that great because it's quite high at the back here, and it does restrict your view to the back. But on a beautiful sunny day like today, it's great to have the top down and enjoy the fresh air. And this car has heated and cooled seats. So on those super hot summer days, those cooled seats will be awesome. And by the way, right now I'm using Apple CarPlay, and it works awesome in this car. The basic navigation system, like I said before, forget it. And with the top down, you don't hear any of that rattling that I was getting from the top mechanism with the top up. So at 55 miles an hour, as you probably expected, there is a fair amount of wind flowing through the cabin with the top down and the windows down. It does get better if you lift up both side windows. If you're going to be driving for extended period of time at that kind of speed, 55 miles an hour or anything above that, I would definitely suggest that. But you know, when I'm on the highway right now, it's a secondary highway, 2-lane highway, but the rearward visibility without with the top down is pretty much nil. I couldn't see any cars that are behind me unless I look in the side view mirrors. It does have this little back window, between the nacelles, but that goes up and down. But even with it all the way down, rearward visibility is nil. I don't know if you can see it or not, the glare that's on the inside of this window here. I literally cannot see that rear view mirror. This tint is just unbelievable. I absolutely hate it. Now this car has a lot of luxury features, that's for sure. The heated and cool seats, the axle lift, the suede liner on the inside of the whole top of the car has this beautiful suede finish. The roof itself is really well insulated, and it has that beautiful suede finish on it too. But in a sports car, not really something that I'm looking for, but if you like that luxury stuff, you can definitely find it here. The 3LT is definitely the luxury version, and if you're looking for all that stuff, that's the model you should spec. With the top down, with either the windows up or the windows down, the amount of noise you get in here is pretty much the same as it is in my Porsche Spyder. Driving around small towns and in the city too, definitely I think I would have the axle lift up more often than not.
2.2 kilometers. Turn left on Kershaw-Camden Highway.
Now I do admit I've probably been overly harsh on this car just because of the tinting has really put me off. And you know, I realize that it's not the car's fault. Someone just chose to tint these windows so ridiculously dark. I mean, it is a beautiful car. I'm sure lots of folks will be extremely happy and proud. And how much cheaper this is than a somewhat comparable Porsche. It's easily $20,000 or $30,000 or more, depending on the trim level that you get of the Porsche or you get one of these. So yeah, I definitely get it. There's a lot of value here for the money. There's no question about that. Now this Corvette C8 convertible weighs a massive 3,750 pounds or thereabouts. And when you drive it, you can really feel that weight. So if you're used to a lighter, more delicate car, like a Porsche, for example, you'll notice the difference. Not in a positive way either. Now this Chevrolet Corvette C8 convertible actually ranks quite high in J.D. Power reliability studies. I believe that in 2023, it ranked as one of the highest made in North America vehicles they actually tested. I believe it's something like 93 or 94 out of 100. And that's really amazing. It wasn't what I was expecting. And when I look around, I can believe it. It's pretty well screwed together, especially for an American-made car. One thing I have noticed with the top up is that it seems like the top of the car gets very warm, whereas the bottom part of the car doesn't get so warm. It feels quite cool. So somehow the difference in heat between the top and the bottom needs to be fixed. I don't like it. This is how I'd configure my Corvette C8 convertible. I'd go for the LT1 spec in rapid blue with body color scoops, black roof, and interior. Now I prefer the very controversial silver wheels and red brake calipers too, but let me know how you would spec your C8 convertible in the comments below. So I like that you can use the track recorder as a front-facing driver cam. Neat feature. Now for me, I have to admit, I still love my Porsche more than I do this car. The performance and the more analog feel of that car is really what I enjoy. Now I haven't driven this car on the track. I do track my Porsche, but definitely I'm going home, beg for her forgiveness. Now if you want to learn more about my Porsche 718 Spyder, click this video up here and I'll see you there.